So this is the iPhone 13 Pro, and coming from an Android phone, there's a lot of things I really like about this device, but there's also a couple things that I don't like. So I thought in this video I'd share all of those things with you guys as sort of a 3-day impressions of this phone. So, the very first thing I noticed when I picked it up was the 120Hz ProMotion display. It's brand new, high refresh rate is finally on an iPhone, and it's quite great. And not only is it better than iPhones in the past with their 60Hz displays, but I felt it's better than many Android flagships. Probably not better than Samsung's 120Hz, but possibly as good, if not better, than OnePlus's 120Hz high refresh rate display, which is big praise considering Android phones and their high refresh rates have been the gold standard for many years. But there is a huge caveat. As of right now, Apple's ProMotion display isn't fully taken advantage of in many third-party applications, which means something like scrolling on maybe Twitter would be in 120Hz, but animations and everything else would be in 60Hz. Which isn't a big deal because Apple could just change this in an update, and hopefully they do, but my theory is that they did this to preserve battery life because the battery life on this phone is really good. Now, it's not a big deal like I said, but it is one of my complaints coming from an Android phone because time to time I do notice this little bit of a discrepancy in third-party applications. Now, for the cameras, there's a lot to desire in a phone these days, but one of the main things I look forward to are the cameras. And on iPhone 13 Pro, there are 3 new lenses and some cool new features on top of that. The main change is the new ultra-wide lens, which doubles as a macro lens, and so there's no manual mode to switch it between normal and macro, which has been my only real complaint with this mode. But when you're on 1x, you just go close to a subject, it automatically switches to macro, and it has a really close minimum focus distance. So these pictures, if you use it well, if you hold it steady, are really cool. It's really fun to use, and you get some crisp images out of this macro mode. So it's really fun, and I'm personally impressed with this mode. And then there is photographic styles, which for me hasn't felt like much of a change, but of course I'll go more in depth testing all the parts of this phone, including the cameras, in my full review, so make sure to subscribe to see that when it comes out. But yeah, photographic styles, not a big deal, at least so far. But cinematic mode, that's what I was really looking forward to in the cameras of this phone. And so far, it's really delivered. Cinematic mode, overall the rack focus part of it has done really good. And everything except edge detection has been good for me. So edge detection on objects that are not faces has been nothing great. In fact, it's subpar, at least in my opinion, but I think it's mainly used for faces. And when I tested it out on different faces, 2 people in the frame, it does it pretty smoothly, the rack focus, and keeps the person in focus with not much edge detection problems. I think most people, normal people, would just consider this like portrait mode video, so I guess that's good for that too. And the finishing touches to all of this is the amazing battery life. So I knew battery life was going to be pretty great on this phone, and going in I was expecting like some, decently good battery life. But this has really impressed me. I had 10% up until a couple minutes when I charged this, or a couple hours ago I charged this, and I opened it up on Friday. It had, I think, 60%, I'm not sure, don't quote me, but it had not full charge, but about like a good amount of charge when I opened it up out of the box on Friday. It's Sunday when I'm recording this, and it still survived. So there was 10% left, and I got around 8 hours and 10 minutes of screen on time before I plugged it in, before I shot this video. But yeah, battery life is really good on this phone. Then there is the color. So the color is kind of controversial, I think. A lot of people are saying it's silver. Camera picks it up perfectly. I made sure that it looks exactly how it looks in real life. And yeah, it's a really nice color. I've seen Pacific Blue. My friends have Pacific Blue iPhone 12s, and I think this looks better. But yeah, those were my 3-day impressions of the iPhone 13 Pro. And I have to say, it kind of surpassed my expectations, which is to say my expectations weren't that high in the first place, but it's still a great phone, nevertheless. As my first iPhone, I think this was a good choice. Also, that camera bump is pretty big. But if you have iPhone 12, I wouldn't recommend upgrading. Maybe if you have iPhone 11 Pro or 10s, maybe then an upgrade would be impending or a good time to upgrade, because the iPhone 14 from the rumors is a complete refresh and redesign. So if you like this design aesthetic, maybe it's the time to go. Other than that, those were my impressions. Thank you for watching. Drop a like down below if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next video.